In terms of Chelsea, obviously some devastating news for them today. There was a lot of reports that Cole Palmer would be back for this weekend's games, but it looks like he's stubbed his toe and he's out for 3 more games. I never laugh at injuries, but it's just the hurt his toe at home. Was it David James who ruptured his cruciate ligament leaning for a TV remote once? It feels obviously not as serious, but somewhat as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was a freak accident from what Enzo Maresca said. I think he stubbed his left toe against a door. And even though it's not so serious that it's going to be a long-term setback, Enzo Maresca said, quote, probably he'll miss Burnley, Barcelona and Arsenal. The groin injury has better news. Cole Palmer was close to recovering and being back on the grass and in contention for matchday selection prior to stubbing his toe, but now he'll be out for another couple of weeks as well. So what that means is that Chelsea are going to, again, have to be quite flexible and rotate significantly. I think Enzo Maresca is being empowered somewhat to rotate by the hierarchy because they want him to use this full squad. So rotation is not necessarily something that is only enforced. But in the case of Cole Palmer, clearly Chelsea want him back. They look a better side with him. And it'll be interesting to see if he misses these 3 games, whether Esteval Willian, who's been excellent for Chelsea and Brazil, gets the opportunity to maybe start in the number 10 position. We've obviously seen him come off the bench and play there. We've seen him start games in a wide right position as well. But maybe this is the time for Esteval Willian to step up and get a start, maybe even some back-to-back starts in that number 10 position as well. The other luxury, of course, that Chelsea have got is that now Liam Delap is back. They can play Liam Delap up front and João Pedro behind in the number 10 position, which is something that Enzo Maresca favours. And in particular, he likes João Pedro playing in a deeper position when he's up against a low block, which will probably be the case against Burnley as well. So there are options there for Chelsea, but I think with Cole Palmer, the main priority is to protect the player. This is obviously an unfortunate freak accident and not something they planned for. But with the groin injury, Chelsea sources have made a point of saying that he has been close to a return for a number of weeks, but they don't want to rush him back and risk any aggravation because they know that during the festive period and beyond, Cole Palmer is going to be an integral player for Chelsea.
Absolutely, and no need to rush him at this particular point. In terms of transfer activity for Chelsea, I saw a story the other day talking about Wharton being a top target for them to add to their midfield. A lot of Chelsea fans want centre-backs, maybe a new goalkeeper. What's your latest understanding of their potential acquisitions this January?
Yeah, I don't want to say that Chelsea will be quiet in January because Chelsea are always alert to market opportunities. But what I would say is that Chelsea are satisfied with the business that they did over the summer. So if they are to strengthen, it will be circumstantial based on their squad, such as injuries, or it will be opportunistic because the right player just presents himself and Chelsea don't want to miss out. Positional wise, if we kind of start at the back, there's a lot of talk about Philip Jorgensen maybe going. And it is true to my understanding that the player is exploring options because he feels like if Denmark qualify for the World Cup, he stands a chance of being the number 1 goalkeeper due to the fact that Mads Hermansen isn't playing for West Ham at the moment because Alphonse Areola is preferred, and Kasper Schmeichel came under a lot of scrutiny because obviously Denmark lost 4-2 to Scotland, and before that they only drew 2-2 with Belarus, and it ended up costing them an automatic spot at the World Cup. So Jorgensen feels like there might be a situation where he can go out and get minutes or potentially even get a move, and that could boost his World Cup chances. But of course, Denmark have to get there first by winning their playoff semi-final and then potentially final. Chelsea's position is that they're not planning to loan out Jorgensen. They're happy with their goalkeeper's depth. And were Jorgensen to go, it would be likely that somebody would have to surpass significantly the £21 million paid. and Chelsea would have to find a suitable goalkeeper or recall Mike Penders. And it's really easy to sort of say what they're going to do is bring back Mike Penders and then allow Philip Jorgensen to go. But Mike Penders is playing every single week for Strasbourg. He's getting European football. His development is on track. If they brought him back to Chelsea, Rob Sanchez would likely still be the number one, and Mike Penders' pathway might be stifled. So Chelsea are quite protective of that. So it wouldn't surprise me unless the right goalkeeper opportunity presented itself if Chelsea do nothing as far as goalkeepers are concerned. Centre-back is obviously a point of discussion because Levi Colwill is out, but Chelsea sources maintain that they're happy to play two right-sided centre-backs. And again, there's plenty of players like Josh Anchimpong, Benoit Badiashile is on the way back, Wesley Fofana fit and playing. So there are options at Enzo Maresca's disposal, and that might be relatively quiet as well. I don't think we're going to see a situation where Chelsea strengthen in central midfield. What we will see for Chelsea is potential outgoings. Tyreek George might still be one topic of conversation in the January window. Remember, Fulham were quite close to signing him over the summer. And then Chelsea will have to decide whether or not they feel some form of attacker is still needed, because they've got João Pedro and Liam Delap and they recalled Mark Guiu. So that, in theory, should be enough. But of course, there was a point towards the end of the summer window where they were debating whether to bring Mark Guiu back from his loan at Sunderland. Nicholas Jackson's move was on off to Bayern and finally got done. And at that point, Chelsea were looking at other versatile attackers in case they needed one more. But at this stage, I'm told Enzo Maresca is really pleased with Mark Guiu and how he's reintegrated and his professionalism during a very difficult end to the summer for him. And obviously Liam Delap is back and João Pedro is fit. Pedro Neto can also lead the line if needed. So when you sort of spell it all out like that, I can understand why Chelsea are not planning that much in January, but you can just never say never with Chelsea, simply because if a really strong market opportunity presents itself, they tend to be the kind of club that are quite fluid and nimble in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes a lot of sense. They've done a lot of money as well in recent years. And I think they're at a point now where they want to be adding tip-top quality as opposed to just another squad player, another individual. But we'll see. As you say with Chelsea, you never quite know. You never quite know indeed. Oh, you mentioned there's Sanchez and Penders. What's your thoughts around the sort of medium term with those two? A lot of Chelsea fans feel that Penders will get his apprenticeship done this season at Strasbourg and come in and maybe be the number one. Is that what you're hearing? Or are they satisfied with Rob Sanchez? Does he look like he'll be the number one for the foreseeable, in your opinion?
Yeah, in fairness to Rob Sanchez, he's gone through, I think, a bit of a resurgence. It's just a personal opinion, but I'm sure there's plenty at Chelsea that would agree. And it kind of happened in the last 5-6 games of last season. He was excellent during the Club World Cup. And I can't really remember the last time when social media were pointing to significant game-costing Rob Sanchez errors. And as a result, I think the fact we're not speaking about Rob Sanchez as much is, in a strange way, quite a compliment to him, because usually when you don't speak about a goalkeeper, it means they're doing well. And when you are talking about a goalkeeper, unless they've made a worldy save, it's often because you're putting them under scrutiny. So Chelsea still have faith in Rob Sanchez. He's the number one. And that's the challenge for Philip Jorgensen in many ways, that last season there was like a defined UEFA Europa Conference League squad and another one for the Premier League, whereas now Rob Sanchez is Premier League Champions League goalkeeper. And that has a knock-on effect that Jorgensen's only played 4 games all season. Let's see if that changes, because the festive period, Maresca might rotate his goalkeeper. And then obviously, as you get into the business end of the Champions League, you might see a bit of rotation. If they're prioritizing a knockout game in the Champions League, maybe Jorgensen gets a few more Premier League opportunities too. With Mike Penders, I would say very clearly, Chelsea think he's close to being ready for Premier League football. And that was the belief when they signed him. But the best thing for his development is to do one season playing in a Big 5 league. Then when he comes back to Chelsea next summer, I expect Mike Penders to challenge Rob Sanchez for the number one, which is why when you hear reports that Chelsea will go back for Mike Maignan, Chelsea might come in for Emi Martinez, And obviously over the summer, Chelsea could enter the race for Gigi Donnarumma. Apart from Maignan, which was a deal out of opportunism, the rest is not necessarily true. And remember, when Chelsea were looking at Maignan, it was because they were debating, are we going to stick or twist with Rob Sanchez? When Chelsea are debating their goalkeepers for summer 2026, it won't just be about Rob Sanchez. It will be about, can Mike Penders, like Sané Lamens has done at Manchester United, assume the number one? And maybe we need a bit more data and time. And that's the logic of keeping Penders at Strasbourg for the full season rather than a mid-season exit where you won't see as much of him in a competitive environment. And this is why I think Chelsea would be very cautious about just recalling Mike Penders. But come summer, I do expect him to be in conversation to compete to be Chelsea's number one. And that may alter whether Chelsea look for a more experienced goalkeeper in the market. And the last thing I would say is that if Penders became the number one, then Rob Sanchez might not want to be the number two, in which case Chelsea still might need some form of another goalkeeper in summer 2026. But the whole point at the moment is that they've got a lot of different options. They've got Jorgensen, who they still rate and think could break onto the scene, and several other European clubs agree, which is why if the player does seek opportunities, I don't think he'll be short of potential suitors. You got Mike Penders, that is viewed by many, much like Sané Lamens, as kind of a generational talent and often compared to Thibaut Courtois. You got Rob Sanchez, who's doing very well. You got Gargar Slonina as well. So all of those things mean that Chelsea are quite calm about the goalkeeper situation.
My prediction about Lamens is actually one of the things I'm most proud of. I think we got it right, and you played a big part in this, Ben. You played a big part in Lamens settling well at United. But he's not coming in as a new number one. He's purely back up. I know what you do, Ben. You report what you're being told, and you're very professional with it. But I knew that was Man United pulling the yarn. I'm telling you, I knew it. But that's me being a fan, by the way, people. But
yeah,
Ben,
but I don't think that was the case. Like, first of all, nobody reports what they're told. You put scrutiny on what you're told.
No, I know that.
What you're going to report. But I think with Sané Lamens, the difference was that Man United needed a goalkeeper because of the Onana situation and the fact that Bayindir was obviously struggling in games. So when Sané Lamens came in, the logical assumption was he's been signed as a number one. But as I reported, that didn't mean it would be from day one, because Ruben Amorim didn't want a scenario where another young goalkeeper came in, made his debut within 5 minutes of joining, didn't know the squad, didn't know the culture, didn't know the manager, didn't know the system, made a few errors. And then before you know it, the first reaction, and it's very difficult for a goalkeeper to kind of change first impressions sometimes. So Man United didn't want a scenario where they threw him in at the deep end, it didn't work, and then suddenly everyone's like, why didn't you sign Emi Martinez or another goalkeeper? So they were really smart. And my info was really clear that from day one, Sané Lamens was going to have the chance to be number one between now and Christmas and keep it for the rest of the season. And that, of course, may influence Manchester United's approach to a new goalkeeper now in 2026. But they were never, ever going to put him in day one, week one, or even, as it turned out, month one, because they protected him in those first few weeks. And I think that tactic has paid off.
And I agree with, by the way, I was being very flippant with what I said prior to that. And a few people going, go on, Ben, stick it to him. No, everything you just said there, Ben, is exactly what I thought United were doing. And you did say those exact same things. That's was part of my belief as well. I think we got it right. I felt putting this young man in day one, the pressure and scrutiny that would have come with it, we were better off. And again, this is me talking like a football fan, because I'm not a professional journalist, but we were better off pushing the narrative of he's back up, but we'll get a chance to be the number one. We're not rushing him. Following that, and when he actually got his chance, there was all right, mate, go on, this is what you can do, as opposed to show me how good you are. There was a fundamental difference in the United attitude towards him. And I love our fans. I love my football club, but we are sometimes a little bit of a poison chalice to our players, in my view. So, no, we did the right thing there.